Okay, so today is November 28th, 2011. We're doing lesson 5.4. We're going to learn about cosine law today. Okay, so after today, you guys will have all the primary trig ratios in order to solve everything in this chapter. Okay, so this is our new formula today. Make sure you memorize it and you know it. You can technically rearrange it three different ways. What I'm going to teach you instead is just to memorize it one way, and the important part will be how to name a triangle. Okay, so we already know from previous questions that our angle and side always have to be opposite. So angle C, that means the opposite side would be side C. With angle B, the opposite side would be side B, and obviously the same for A. It's important that when we're trying to solve for things using cosine law, it's a little like Pythagorean. Now, Pythagorean theorem, our C is the hypotenuse. That's not always the case with cosine. What it is our C, whether it's the side or the angle, that's what we're going to be looking for. Okay? You always have to rename a triangle so that side C or angle C is the angle or side we're looking for. So we're going to make a triangle and go through an example like this. So we have example number 1.
Oh, that first triangle wasn't.
They want us to find side X. Okay? I haven't named this triangle at all, but because I'm trying to find side X, I'm going to call that side C. You can name a triangle anything you want. We're going to call that our side C, which then means 43 is our angle C. The A and B are not as important. I'm just going to call this angle A, so that means this becomes side A, and angle B, side B. Okay? The reason I did it this way is I want my side C to be the side I'm solving for. So now that we have this information, we're going to plug it into our formula. This is our A's. Lowercase letters mean it's the side. Okay? These are our C's. This is side C. This is angle C. The uppercase letter is the side we're looking for. And finally, these are side B in the question. So now that we have this, we're going to plug them in. We'll color code it to make it a little easier for you guys when I plug them in the first time. So our side C is our X. So we're looking for X squared, which is equal to A is 5 squared plus B is 7 squared minus 2 times A is 5 and B is 7. Again, multiplied by cosine 43. That was our angle. Okay? So by cosine 43. Now, this formula is a tricky one. Most people will make a mistake along the lines here. We're going to go through the process where you'll make the mistake. So, we'll continue through this question. We have x squared is equal to 25 plus 49. Subtract 3570 cos 43. We're going to keep going here. X squared is equal to 74 minus. Now, this is very important. We'll write this out here. This is the part where most people make mistakes with cosine law. Many people see 74 subtract 70. Oh, sorry. Many people see the 74 subtract 70, and they equate this. That's not the right process. What this says is 70 multiplied by cos 43. We always deal with multiplication first. Okay? So if you have to put maybe a little pair of brackets around cosine, so that you can remember that it means to be multiplied by to help you with BEDMAS, you go right ahead. Do not subtract 74 from 7 and then multiply. That's not correct order of operation. Okay. So we're going to solve cos 43. 43 cos. And I'm going to leave that number in my calculator, just multiply by that 70. So we have our number. So my next line will read x squared is equal to 74 minus 51.19, we'll say. I rounded to 2 decimal places. Guys, with all these questions, please round to at least 2 decimal. If you decide to write the entire number out, that's great. Go right for it. So next we'll have x squared is equal to 74 subtract 51.19, which is 22.81. And then finally, because this is squared, I need to actually get x by itself. So the opposite sign of squared is to square root. Just like when we move something to the other side of the equation, if it's positive, we turn it negative. If it's division, we turn it to multiplication. Because this is to the power of 2, we square root this. So I square root both sides of the equation. I'm left with x is equal to 4.77. And if I asked you to round it, you can say x is approximately 4.8 centimeters. So in this question we had above, our side x is 4.8 centimeters. Okay, your second example, we have this triangle, and they're asking me, or us, sorry, to find angle R. Now, in order to find angle R, that means we're looking for an angle. We have 3 sides of the equation. Again, we're going to be using our cosine law. So we're going to take our cosine law. But like I told you before, in our cosine law, we're used to using the variables C, A, and B. Now, if you guys notice, this triangle is named very differently. PQR. Doesn't matter what they name the triangle. That's just to let us know what angle. They want angle R. That's great. I'm going to rename this triangle. So remember what I told you. Because we're looking for angle R, whatever we're looking for with cosine law, we're going to name that the C, whether it's the angle or the sine. So angle R now becomes angle C, which means this becomes side C. And our A and B is not as important. Okay? We arbitrarily put A and B to other questions. Now we can fill this out. Our side C is 3.2 kilometers. Really big. So we have 3.2 squared is equal to side A is 5.9 squared plus B is 6.2 squared minus 2 times 5.9 times 6.2 cos. Now, this is what we're looking for, our angle R. We can call it C or X. It's completely up to you. We're going to continue to call it angle C. So now we're going to solve for everything here. 3.2 squared, 10.24. So we have 10.24 is equal to 5.9 squared, 34.81. Plus 6.2 squared, 38.44, minus, now we're going to multiply our 2 by 5.9 by 6.2, 73.16, and we're still looking for our C. C is the variable we're trying to find. We're trying to find an angle right now.
So what did we do here?
Okay, so we've added these numbers together. We're going to simplify some of this stuff now. 10.24 is equal to 34.81 plus 38.44. That's going to give us 73.25 minus 73.16. Now remember, I told you if you needed to make a bracket to recall that this is multiplied by, go right ahead. So this is technically times cos C. Now what I'm going to be doing is I'm trying to isolate for C. That means I want to move all these other constants, all these numbers, to the left side of the equation. I want to keep the C by itself. So I'm going to move 73.25. This is another part where people usually make mistakes. We get 10.24. When I move 73 over, what does it become? We get negative 73.25 is equal to, what is left? Negative 73.16 times cos C. Okay, so we're going to equate on our left side. We had 10.24 subtracted by 73.25. Thank you. So negative 63.01 is equal to negative 73.16 cos C. Now, again, we still have to get C by itself. So I need to move this 73.16, or the negative version of it, which means we need to divide both sides of the equation by negative 73.16. When we do that, on the right side, our numbers will cancel out. So we're left with just cos C. And on the other side, divided by .861. Now, again, we still don't have C by itself. There is still technically a cos. So when we bring cos to the other side of the equation, that's right. It becomes the inverse of cos. So we get cos inverse 0.861. Now, guys, in order to be accurate here, I've kept my original number. If you can keep the original number, you become far more accurate when you go to calculate this angle here. Make sure we're in degrees. I need inverse cos, so I have to hit shift on my calculator. Cos turns into the inverse cos. And when I hit it, we get 30.54 as our angle. So our angle R is equal to 30. We can round it up to 31 degrees for our angle R. Okay, example number 3. Example number 3 is a word problem. It says that Ken's cell phone detects 2 transmission antennas. So here are 2 transmission antennas. Okay. One of the antennas is 7 kilometers away, while the other is 13 kilometers away. So, from Ken, we're going to say that that one is 7 kilometers away, and this one is 13. So we have 13 kilometers away and 7 kilometers away. The question then goes to say, from his position, the 2 antennas appear to be separated at an angle of 80 degrees. So what that means is the angle in between here is 80 degrees. How far apart to the nearest kilometer are the 2 antennas? So we're going to be solving for the distance between the 2 antennas. So we'll call that x. Now, the very first thing I want you guys to do is we've created this triangle. I want you guys to name the triangle. So what will side x be called? C. Good. So if that's C, that means our angle of 80 degrees is also C. Our A and B are less important. We just have to make sure the angles and the sides are opposite. So right now we have an angle in between 2 sides that we know. So we're going to be using our cosine law to solve this. And we're going to go straight into the question now since it's our 3rd example at this. So our c squared is what we're looking for. So that now becomes our x squared. our a squared is 7 squared. B squared is 13 squared. Minus 2 times 7 times 13. And I'm going to put it in brackets just so you guys remember. This is multiplied by cos. Our angle C is 80. So cos 80. We have x squared is equal to 49 plus 169 minus 2 times 7 times 13 is 182. I'm going to leave the cos 80 for a little bit so we don't have to put the decimal in yet. It's x squared because the original was c squared. X squared is equal to 49 plus 169, 281 minus 182, cos 80. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we still have our x squared is equal to 218. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this all in one step on the calculator. Many of you guys can do that. So what I would do, we're going to look for 80 cos times 182, the negative value of it, which is equal to, and I'm going to be adding 218 to this. So plus 218 gives me 186.39. 186.39. Finally, after we square root each side, we end up with 13.65. Now the question asks us to round this. It asks us to round it to the nearest kilometer, so 13.65 rounds to what? Approximately 14 kilometers. So the two antennas at the beginning of this question are roughly 14 kilometers in distance from each other.